Okay, so day one of the potential of the breath challenge, and I just wanted to start by going over the importance of breathing. Number one is that it's the only means that we have of getting oxygen into our bodies, and number two, maybe a lesser known fact, it's a way of expelling toxins and waste product out of our bodies. Oxygen is actually the most essential nutrient, as all of our organs rely on it to function properly or even at all, in particular the brain. And if we think about it, if we want to kind of just reiterate the importance of oxygen, we can see that we can go for weeks, sometimes months, without eating. You can go quite a few days without drinking water, but if we cut off our oxygen supply quite quickly, obviously, we die. So that kind of gives us the importance of oxygen. The good news is, where most of us are lacking enough oxygen, it's quite easy to undo any adverse effects from not breathing properly. And you might even find, just from me talking about the breath, that actually you've begun to deepen yours, which would be good news, because when we don't breathe fully enough, just like all the other muscles within the body, the lungs, we can look at the lungs like another muscle. So when we're not breathing deeply enough, so we're underworking the muscles, and or our lungs, we're underworking the lungs, and they become less effective. Also, if we've got a more shallow breath, so we tend to breathe a bit more quickly, and again, we're not getting enough oxygen into the body, which can show up with premature aging. When the brain is starved of oxygen, this is shown as a stroke. When the heart's not getting enough, that can come and show as a heart attack. And also, it's been found that lack of oxygen can contribute to cancer as well. And as I said before, the good thing about this is that we can always improve the quality of our breathing. And I've put a program together that really we go into a bit more depth about that, and just how sitting better as well helps with our breathing. But I just want us to stay with our breath. And before we get on to the practice part of the session, I'll just run over some of the benefits of getting more oxygen into the body, because I know for me, I like to know the ins and outs of everything, and then it just encourages me to do better, or more in this case, of breathing more fully. So obviously, number one thing is, if we're breathing more deeply, then we're bringing more oxygen into the body. This helps to rejuvenate all of the glands. It improves our nervous system, helps to increase the removal of toxins from the body, and that includes fat as well. In turn, we have a better digestion, healthier lungs, better function of all the abdominal organs, so that's the liver and the spleen and the kidneys and the heart. We've got better and stronger protection against respiratory infections, and also with a fuller breath we tend to reduce our blood pressure as well. And when we look at this link between the nervous system and our breath, we can see how we can reduce our blood pressure, because when we're breathing out in particular, it activates the relaxation side of our nervous system, that rest and digest response. And when we breathe in, you'll maybe feel it as a bit more pressure within the body. And we can try that now, so we can get a direct sense of this relationship between the breath and our nervous system. So you can just close your eyes. And if you take a nice long breath out, and perhaps you can notice a subtle softening through all of the muscles in your body. And just a few more times, make your breath out a bit longer than your inhale, and you can actively feel, or hopefully you can actively feel that softening of your body. And when we move into a softer space, as I was saying, the breath out links to our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest. And as we breathe in, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, which is that side that is ready for us to spring into action. So as well as deepening the breath, so we're increasing that time in the relaxation response, but because when we're breathing more fully, we're getting, as I say, more blood into the heart, which is just really good for our blood pressure as well. One more thing before we move on to the practice is not so much the breath, because obviously the breathing is that in and exhale, but the respiratory system, or it's an exchange of gas that happens when we breathe. So when we inhale, the oxygen comes into our lungs, and there's little alveoli within the lungs, and through these they remind me of trees, actually, the branches and twigs of the trees. So there's a gas, oxygen and blood exchange here, and what happens is the oxygen comes into the blood and the carbon dioxide comes out of the blood. So very basically, when we're breathing, we're actually nourishing ourselves on the inhale, so giving the body all the means it needs to nourish itself on the inhale, and when we're breathing out, we're cleansing and releasing those toxins on the breath out. And for me, when I'm mindful of these things, and it does work like a placebo effect as well, when we're more mindful of this process, we know of this process, so it just enhances the benefits and the kind of the outcomes of this process. So again, you can close your eyes, take that long breath out, and maybe just soften, if you're feeling a little tight around the upper chest or in the area of the rib cage, try and soften all the muscles. We've got loads of little muscles that sit between the ribs, so we want to relax all those muscles, which will facilitate a deeper breath. And then with the next inhale, just notice that feeling as we soften with the breath out. Notice the feeling of maybe a bit of pressure coming into the body as you inhale. And we can relax again on the breath out, taking a little extra longer breath out and breathing in once again. Imagine that exchange of gases, that the oxygen's coming into mixing with the blood, and as we're inhaling, maybe we can get a sense of that oxygen, the fresh oxygen around the whole of the body. Softening on the breath out, breathing into the inhale. Maybe I always feel it as a bit of lightness coming into the body, a feeling of coolness coming into the body as you inhale. Exhaling, releasing tension, releasing all the toxins from your body. And we're going to continue with this full breath. Perhaps getting a direct sense of that oxygen coming into every cell within the body. And having a real intention that we want to cleanse and release anything that is of no service as we exhale. Being mindful that we're nourishing on the breath in and releasing on the breath out. And maybe you can deepen your breath a little bit more. And just a few more rounds. Nice full breath in. And a good full breath out. we just let go of the practice, and you might notice that already, you know, you're feeling maybe a little more energized. If you're feeling a little bit stressed, that you're a little bit more calm. And just that, you know, in a very short space of time, that we can really bring ourselves into a much more nicer and calm space. So the challenge is that I'm going to encourage you to practice this breath throughout the rest of the day, just to, or at least just check in and see where you are with your breathing. And yes, you can let me know how you get on. I'll check back in with you tomorrow when you come tomorrow, and we'll be looking at just how we can maximize a bit more on the potential of the breath. But yes, the challenge for today or the rest of the day is periodically throughout your day is to just be aware of how you are breathing, and then breathe a little more deeply, and just be mindful that we're nourishing, feeding all of our organs on that inhale, and that we're relaxing, not relaxing, well, we are relaxing, but we're releasing and letting go of all those toxins on your exhale. And I will look forward to hearing the feedback tomorrow.